Okay, is Jason Momoa a sex worker? Yes. Yes, he absolutely is. That's what he brings to the plate. Are people talking more about his acting skills or his abdomens? Now, who is Jason Momoa? I know I pronounced his name wrong. He's this muscle-bound joke. He's huge. He's not a little fella. He's also the kind of guy that, well, although we get to hear as men how we're all pigs and all we think about is sex and we're so perverted. How many times do you see Jason Momoa pop up on your news feed in the average week? And who is it that's primarily pumping that stuff up there? I know a lot of you guys in this country are afraid of homosexuals or hate homosexuals and have a lot of aversions to homosexuals, so they don't have a lot of homosexual friends. But I'm going to tell you from somebody who does, or at least used to, Jason Momoa is very popular among the gay community too. There are a lot of guys who touch themselves thinking of Jason Momoa. Oh, I found a pen. Looks like it's broken. It is. Got ran over. Oh, and it fell apart. However, it's got metal pieces, and what do I do with that crap? I throw it the fuck away. It's got metal pieces in it too, and it's smashed. We'll throw it the fuck away. Least we can do. So what makes Jason Momoa a sex worker? Alright, something you might not remember is Baywatch. This is back during the 90s. This is, well, women's chesticles power hour, basically. Horrible acting. Cheesy as all hell. It's obvious to anybody watching it that it was definitely not about saving lives. It was about sex appeal. Mr. Hasselhoff did indeed know how to make money. Sex sells. Look at these commercials. Sex sells. Now there's a lot of commercials trying to show a very weird diversity. Like, okay, you got an Asian mom, and you got a white dad, and you got a black kid, and this is in your commercials. I'm fine with that. You know what? I've been in foster homes where it was definitely not people that looked like me. If they were nice enough, I'd have wished they would have adopted me. That would have been nice. Real nice. Didn't happen. But that's not what this is about. This is about rippling abdomens. How many of y'all ladies would go down to your local Chippendales if you knew Jason Momoa was going to be there? How many of you would even care? How many of y'all post them up on your Facebook and YouTube? How many of you would leave your husbands for that guy? Realistically and honestly. You get a chance with Jason Momoa. You got this one chance. You can either go on a date with him tonight with no husband, or your chance is not coming again in your lifetime. How many of y'all would try it? You'd ask the same question of anybody who had a crush on Johnny Depp 20 years ago. Jason Momoa was in Baywatch, okay? He's not a little 12-year-old. Damn near grown-ass adult. Don't you like that? Saying Jason Momoa is damn near a grown-ass adult. Dude's twice my size. He probably weighs twice what I do. Oh my god, my fucking back hurts. Oh my god. Up to the library next. When that whole Baywatch thing was going on, we had a lot of people saying that Pamela Anderson was a sex worker because she wore that swimsuit. That the show was mostly about her jugs, and so on and so on and so on. And that David Hasselhoff did not know a thing about being a lifeguard. All he knew about was sex sells. They're saying that he hired the people that he hired based on their looks because sex sells. Yeah, that was back in the 90s when you were allowed to admit it. Have things changed at all? Yeah, they still hire pretty faces. They just don't admit it. Now we've got people who are pretty well shitty actors who can only be typecast because they suck. They can only do one type of acting. Alright, you're an asshole. You'll, I guess, be playing a sarcastic asshole because that's what you are. You get to see with the Amber Heard situation how Mr. Momo acted. He basically pretended to be drunk, and yes, that was acting, and yes, he sucked at it. He didn't take it seriously. He thought it was a big joke and treated it like a big joke. Now, there's a possibility that since we're in modern America, that she might just be a drama queen. But the thing is, we got guys that are bragging about having jars of cocaine on the table. You know, Johnny Depp was smiling and laughing through that whole thing. They made it basically a big joke. And then there's all the things that he was allowed to do, and his lawyers were allowed to do, and she was allowed to do, and her lawyers were allowed to do. And of course, in my situations, I was told I'm not allowed to do any of those things. Oh, that's a cool looking bus. There's a guy out here standing in the parking lot, just kind of looking around. I think he's waiting on the bus. The little city bus that goes through here. But he was looking at a green bus that was going by, like somebody had converted an old school bus. I am not the peak of health. I'm not the peak of physical health. I'm not trying to compete with Jason Momoa for women. But the other thing is, I shouldn't have to. And I shouldn't have that shoved on me as if it's my motivation for everything. Weightlifters do it to get looked at. Guitar players do it for the same thing. Not necessarily the looks, it's the having the impression that playing the guitar will get you laid. It can. But that's no guarantee. So technically, a guitar player could be a sex worker. Now, Jason Momoa, just like all models, is actually a sex worker. That is what he's selling. Just like Baywatch, they're selling sex. They're selling an image. Kind of like when you take those cheerleaders and you put them in those super short skirts. They're in junior high school. You know they're going to get gawked at by perverts. Why are you doing that to high school girls? You can turn cheerleading into sex work, technically. You're putting on an image. I mean, come on, people. We tried to force Pamela Anderson at one point to register as a sex offender for her part on Baywatch. Not that anyone would ever actually go through with it back then, but today they might. Vocal one. Huh. Wonder if they're singers. I was reading a license plate in the parking lot here. Now, did Jason Momoa have to deal with any of that? No. No, he didn't. I mean, I'm sure he had to hear about it. The whole country had to hear about it. But here he is. It's many years later. He's still been working on his chiseled physique. He's an asshole for certain. And he still thinks he's got to play the tough guy. No, dude, just fuck off. Now we get to the don't be a bitch clause, don't we? All these actors that have stuff in their contract says they can't get beat up in the movies because they don't want people to think of them as a little bitch. I wonder if Jason Momoa has one of those. He probably does. You can't make me look like a pussy in Aquaman. But we also look back. He was on Baywatch. That means he's a lot older than you guys might give him credit for. Khal Drago. Right? Game of Thrones. He's his dreamy powerhouse. But what did we get out of this? Unrealistic expectations. The thing is, if you're gonna try to be the kind of person who wants to attract Jason Momoa, look at the image that he puts off. There's a reason he tries to put off that image. There's a reason that image is important to him. You get to see how rich people are getting millions and millions of dollars from suing other rich people over image, over what the public thinks. Meanwhile, what happens when it destroys somebody's life? What happens when it's not a rich person? What if it's somebody who lives in a house like Samuel Leon Lawrence IV or Zayd Atkinson? Well, they get $95,000 or $132,000, respectively. What happens if it's a homeless white guy on the streets? He gets victimized and he owes money for being victimized. People just pretend that he's a fucking schizophrenic drug addict and that's why he's homeless. Somehow that magically makes everything okay, doesn't it? Meanwhile, when's the last time that Jason Momoa was homeless? When's the last time he had to spend a year in Skid Row, Los Angeles? Shit, I was there about a week. That was more than I could handle. People coming up and telling me stories about how they had to chop up a child molester and stuff him in the drain. It's gross. And we got Jason Momoa making a mockery of all of it. Who cares? He's famous. He's above the law. To some degree. Same as Sammy Leon Lawrence IV and Zayd Atkinson are above the law. Apparently. They can get away with things that would have gotten a homeless person beat the fuck up or shot. Meanwhile, we got to deal with the poi poi. We got people like, Officer Waylon Lolatai thinks violence is the answer. Lots of meat hooks think violence is the answer. They like to body shame. I could pop your scrawny little head with one forearm. All right, cute. Why don't you try using your brain's muscle, man? Oh yeah, you got the muscles because you didn't want to use your brain. You decided to get them muscles because you wanted to be strong enough to beat people up. Well, congratulations, now you're big enough to beat people up. That happens often. It's about time for me to go up to the library now. So I think I'm going to get to that. As far as Jason Momoa goes, he's a lot more famous in women's circles than in men's, and that's because of the sex appeal. How many times have you seen him come across your timeline? Now, how often do I go posting pictures of half-naked women on my Facebook? Different motivations. Alright. This thing has kind of a weird turning circle because the power steering doesn't work too good. We'll see if we can make this work. Now, of course, if we can go running around trying to accuse just the women on Baywatch of being sex workers and accuse David Hasselhoff of trying to sell sex, the fact is that's what modern American advertising is, but it's not just modern American. How many boys of my father's and my grandfather's generations grew up whacking off to the Sears Roebuck catalog? A lot of them. Anyway, we'll get the hell out of here. Try to get something done at the library. I was able to get a gallon of unit, which is nice. I didn't have to sell my body or any nudie pics. Now, when I was younger, I used to have a pretty nice abdomen. Nice and chiseled. If I walked around with a shirt, people treated me different than if I walked around with no shirt. I've always been strong, except when I was a fat kid. Never been a famous movie star. I haven't gotten to live 30 years living life as if everything's a joke. me when it comes to physical assault, sexual assault. These are all very real things to me. While most American women would see me going down the street and treat me like shit or look the other way or gawk at me like I'm some sort of a perv, those very same women will gawk at Jason Momoa like perverts. Many of the women that I know that complain about Jason Momoa, do I hear any of them? No, I don't know any women complaining about Jason Momoa. And he is brought up very often as a topic of conversation, which is why I bring him up. I get to hear how dreamy he is. Well, that's nice, dear. But what makes him dreamy? When we're told what a real man is, what a woman wants, most of us men don't have those things. You're not going to find a 24-year-old who is a multi-millionaire CEO of a major company. 6-foot core and dark complexion, equilateral. Now, there's been a lot of studies done on how men versus women pick partners, and women generally tend to pick more than one partner. You've got the genetically compatible partner. That's the one where as soon as you start going into rut, or he starts going into rut with you and you're cycling. A woman, when she's ovulating, is more likely to be attracted to a man based purely on physical attributes. There's also the nurturing man. This is the stepfather. You get drunk and you want to have fun and you want to hang out with the assholes and, be with the dominant male. You want to talk about you want to be with a man who's not overbearing. He's overbearing. And if there's a man who isn't overbearing, well, how do you treat him? Oh, I guess I could have turned there. It's alright, I can do it here. No matter what, we can't do anything right. And why is it we are stuck in this servitude to women, where no matter what, she can change her mind whenever she wants. We're expected to go along with it, and it's a woman's prerogative. Meanwhile, when it comes to public health and safety, any woman at any point in time is allowed to drop off everyone's health and safety based on her personal wants. For a man, even with evidence, overwhelming evidence that he's being harmed by a woman and her friends, he's going to be blown off in most cases, unless he's Jason Momoa or Johnny Depp. Actually, I think I'm gonna go over to Safeway and get something to eat. I put in $4 worth of gas this morning. And, another gentleman put another 2 in for me. The guy who works there, his name, I believe, is Keith. And so I think I might have enough to make it till I get paid. There's a lot of people that want to hate because I can't live on $800 a month. Here the rent for a cheap room is about $1,100. Just so you know that. For a guy, it doesn't matter how good a person you are if you ain't got money or looks. That is the country that we live in. That is modern America. The idea that every woman, even the fat ones, who have not kept themselves well, all believe that they should be with a Jason Momoa, and that even if that Jason Momoa is married, he owes it to them to drop off his wife and give her a chance. How many times have we seen this, not just on YouTube and TikTok and all that, but in real life? Women that we know who, alright, so let me explain it like this. My older brother had a crush on a famous lady back in the day named Tiffany. And he was going to run away to California to be with Tiffany. He was about, I want to say he was about 11 or 12 at the time. He wasn't very old. Now, he had it in his head that this is going to work out. Well, it didn't. We never made it to California. He was taking me with him. We were getting the hell out of there. We're getting out of Colorado and getting away from our parents. Going to live with Tiffany in California. That's right. But we were kids. We got grown-ass women doing this. We got grown-ass women who are having sex with underage boys and getting pregnant by those boys and not going to prison. A female sex offender spends on average 8 months locked up. That's it. Because apparently grown-ass women having sex with underage boys is socially acceptable. Just a slap on the wrist. When it comes to sex trafficking, we need to take a look at it on a lot different point of view. I don't see what Jason Momoa does as being any different than a prostitute at your local truck stop. There is no difference between Jason Momoa and a Chippendales dancer. There is no difference between Jason Momoa and a stripper. These are all sex workers. When you're advertising a pretty face or your curvaceous body, whether those are abdominal curves or gluteal curves, muscular curves or soft effeminate curves, physical attraction is very much a part of our lives. Unfortunately, it is also a large part of our decision making. It's hard for you to make positive decisions when you're thinking with your baby makers. When your friend is being bullied by a pretty woman and you realize she's a pretty woman, you're not going to take your friend's side, no matter how right he is. If you do, it's because you've got experience with her already and you know what a fucked up person she is. But when it's something where you're like, oh, well, she's pretty, dude, you should probably just let it go. No, that's the occasions where you need to make sure you don't let it go. If there's a fat woman trying to start problems and claim that you're some sort of a monster, most people aren't going to listen to her because she's fat. And that's horrible. But it's not just fat women. There's those women who are too skinny or don't have the right curves in the right place. Same as there's boys that are like that. I'm one of them. I'm not beautiful in all the right places. I don't make the 6 figures a year. I used to be a very good Mr. Fix-It, but that's the second type of man in a woman's life. There's ones that she finds attractive and wants to go out and do fun things with, like get fucked up and have sex. And then there's the ones that are for child rearing. Alright, well, when she wants to still go out and fuck around like she did when she was 16, 17, and 18 and ended up pregnant and you're raising some other guy's kids, you know, that's not something that's going to feel good. And that's not something that we're going to be happy about, especially if we, like a guy like me, I don't want a relationship. I'm not interested in a relationship. Not like that anyway. We don't need to be boyfriend and girlfriend for me to help you out. If I help you to move out of an abusive man's house, and the first thing you do is try to have sex with me to say thank you, I'm not turning you down because you're ugly. I'm turning you down because I personally think of it as prostitution. You shouldn't have to prostitute yourself in order to get help. Neither should I. Neither should Jason Momo. Well, what help does he really need? And people want to talk about everything that Johnny Depp would lose if he lost the case and had to pay money. Well, not much. How full of a life has the man lived? When it comes to being a sex worker, it's not just a Baywatch thing. It's the fact that we do sell that image, don't we? And we have the heroes in G.I. Joe or Captain America. We're not picking the fat slobs, are we? We're not picking the Porkins from Star Wars, are we? Captain America isn't some slouch on a couch, is he? What about that slouch on a couch who's only fat? Because of medications. You say, oh, well, there's other stuff you can do and you can change medications. Maybe. Maybe your insurance will cover it. Maybe it won't. Jason Momo have to worry about that? No. How many weightlifters do we have now that are so screwed up on illegal steroids they messed up their bodies? And now they got to take steroids from a doctor to replace the fact that their body no longer wants to produce them steroids itself because it's got plenty. When we look at advertising, we want to talk about how boys are only after sex, and we've got all these girls who are very specifically advertising that they're only after sex. And then we have advertising itself, advertising primarily sex. Sex, 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 sex. And we get it shoved down our throats 24/7. We can't go to the grocery mart. We can't go to even the bus stops. We got them little billboards on the back of them, and we want to put the pretty looking people on those, don't we? And it's horrible. Who's worth listening to? The people who are the most attractive. And who is it that's most prone to this? Men or females? Both, actually. Both. Oh, women pretend men are sexist and men pretend women are sexist. We're all sexist. We're taught to be. We're taught some real stupid shit. Us boys are taught it's never okay to hit a girl. Girls are taught they're allowed to hit us once for free, but some of them think it resets every 30 seconds. Oh, we got one of these fun people on today. Let's see, Little Miss J typed, that Magic Mike guy is another one. His name is Channing Tatum. He gets all kinds of roles only because of his face and body. You need to watch a clip of his acting. I've seen it. Yep, Channing Tatum is one of the ones that I bring up, actually. Let's see, this one, view message. This message held by review. Little Miss J typed, did you ever see the 30-minute workout in the 80s with the three girls in leotards making orgasm face, and the cameras were always hidden in certain areas, lol. No, I didn't. I am going to allow that comment because it is actually on topic. Point out that this is not a males only thing. It's not just Jason Momoa that I'm trying to bring out here. It's, well, Little Miss America that I'm exposing. Now let's take this person called himself Weirdo to Get Help. We'll hide user on this channel. Now in real life, I don't get to do that. On the internet, I can. Oh, I don't know who's... Oh, it's a fire truck. I knew it was a fire truck, but I was expecting, because of the way it was going off, that it was going to be one of the smaller ones. It was actually one of the big ones. The Channing Tatum thing is a good point, too. He's one of the ones that I bring up, and who's the other one? Jeremy Meeks. I do bring him up as well. The rapist who people thought was good looking. If you look up, go to the Nebraska Sex Offender Registry and look up the name Robert Warnick. Warnick. He's one of my predators, and I've had quite a few women in town tell me about how good looking he is. He's not the only one. Now, there's a lot of other sex offenders there that I've exposed. Not sure if you noticed, but I don't like sex offenders. I do believe in an honest day in court, however, because I've known too many men who have been the target of baseless accusations because they didn't do what a woman wanted right when she wanted it. On Jason Momoa, the way that he acted, he tried to act like Captain Jack Sparrow, except a little more gruff, like he just woke up with a hangover. And the Amber Heard thing. Now, how many of these good-looking fellers, this is what you guys care about, this is what you focus on. With the Zayd Atkinson situation, what do people say about Zayd Atkinson? That he's good looking, he's so dreamy. Now he's got a modeling career. Puts his nasty ass dreads all up in a fucking hair thing back there. And I say nasty ass dreads because that's how street people are treated about their dreads. What do you smear those with poop? Shows off his abdomen, shows off his body. Yup, he's eating it up. His 15 minutes of fame are about showing himself off, showing off his physical physique. And that's very popular, and he's not the only one. We get to see how lawyers like to pick and choose cases based on the looks of the person. If somebody is good looking, people want to believe them. And we all know this. All of us. When we pick the person that we go and pick on and bully when we've had a bad day, we're showing that we understand that bias 100%. I know a lot of women whose best friend is a fat woman. It's usually good-looking women who have a fat best friend. When they have a bad day or they want to bitch about not getting their way, they go to their fat best friend. Or they want to go out and do something fun. It's not with their fat best friend. It's with the sorority girl types. which is the part that Jason Momoa plays, a sorority girl. Yes, I don't dress like this to get stared at. Look at me, look at me. I didn't dress like this to get stared at by you. It's just a joke. Just a joke to him. And we don't stop to realize the repercussions for others. Johnny Depp was never going to lose that case. He's too popular with women. Jason Momoa, if he raped somebody, what are the chances that Jason Momoa would go to prison for rape? Not very fucking good. Just one woman who thinks he's dreamy is enough. And how are you going to find somebody in the United States who doesn't know who Jason Momoa is? Well, not enough tobacco on there to do anything good. Looks like another message held for review. Let's see what this one says. Little Miss J typed, Alec Baldwin got off from the murder charge. He is rich and famous, but ugly inside and out. I'm going to allow that one. Well, I don't know why. It's not allowing me to... Oh, there it is. Show. Alec Baldwin was not guilty of murder. It says another moderator just handled this. I don't have another moderator. Well, that's weird. I apologize, little Miss J. As far as Alec Baldwin goes, he's just a fucking moron. That's the thing about not teaching your kids how to use fucking guns. Sure, they may never need to use it, but you know what? In the interest of their best fucking safety, make sure they know how to use it so they don't accidentally shoot themselves or somebody else. What are the chances of your kids getting to handle a gun in the United States in their lifetime? Pretty good. What are their chances of shooting themselves handling that firearm? Pretty good. If they're untrained. Now, if you're one of those guys who goes out shooting every day and cleans his gun every day, yes, you're at a much, much larger chance of shooting yourself because you're handling it every day. You are more likely to have one of those days where you make a mistake, the more of those days that exist. Your parts on your gun, for example, let's say you've got the trigger mechanism, and the trigger mechanism on your particular model of Springfield is known to be complete shit. Now, sure, it takes 300 to 400 rounds for you to start having problems with it. But there's a possibility that it was case hardened too much and that it's going to shear off on the first bullet. But if it doesn't shear off on the first bullet, there's a possibility it will on the second or the third. If you go out shooting that gun every single day, you've got an eventuality that you are begging to happen. Kind of like if you've got a vehicle that overheats if you drive it when it's a hot day out. You know that eventually that's going to create issues. Whether it blows a hose today or blows a hose next week, it's going to blow a hose. Kind of like being homeless, living in a parking lot. Sure, you might not get asked to leave today, but you are going to get asked to leave. It is an eventuality. You can't just stay there. That's one of the things about Mike McKinster's idea of just avoiding the lady who was a manager and didn't like me. That's a temporary band-aid on a permanent problem. That Jeremy Meeks feller, he was in prison for rape. And how many women, when he escaped, were like, oh, he could do that to me? I've had women that I know, like Amanda Payne and her mother, both said that they wished Johnny Depp would PE them. That's disgusting. Both of them literally said they wished that he would, because when I was trying to explain the difference between being a homeless man and being a good-looking guy like Johnny Depp, this is years ago, before the whole he touched me inappropriately thing against him. I used to use him as an example, but both of them have this huge crush on Johnny Depp that if you say anything bad about him, you're a horrible person for it, apparently. Little Miss J typed, I Barney Fifed myself one day right through the bedroom floors, so yes, and I am a pro. That's right, the more you fuck with it, more chances you have. However, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and you haven't practiced it, and you get a gun in your hands the first time, how many times have you seen in the movies where somebody's got a gun, shotgun, and everybody tries to duck down? There's a reason for that. That'll kill somebody. You go through gun safety first. That's the first thing you need to do. If you've got children and you are a pacifist, and there is literally never going to be a situation where you or your children are going to need a fucking gun, I want you to keep in mind you still need to teach your kids how to properly handle them and know how to properly handle them yourself so they don't pull a stupid and kill themselves or somebody else because a 9-year-old found it in a fucking closet. Yes, a 9-year-old, you should know how to operate a firearm by the time you're 9 years old in this here country, in my opinion. There are so many children out on farms have a shotgun and a rifle right behind the front door. They sit there. It's every day. They go to school walking right past it. They come back from school walking right past it. Then you got the guy who keeps a loaded 9mm up in his closet. And his 9-year-old and his 7-year-old are going to go fucking around trying to find out what's in that closet. What's mom and dad's closet? They're not here right now. They had to go to the store. They had to run there. That's all the longer it takes. They find that gun you got stuffed right behind that shoebox. They're wondering what it is. And how do we teach kids with guns? We teach them with squirt guns. You point them at each other. You teach people to be fucking stupid with them. You have taught your kids with super soakers. Are they going to be able to tell the difference between a super soaker and a 9mm? As soon as they pick it up, yes. But we got super soakers. The only difference between a 1911 fucking toy gun and a 1911 that's real is that the real one's more likely to be black or silver, and the toy is more likely to be chrome looking or some bright neon fucking color. It's still a gun. It's still the point and shoot. You're still pointing it at other people. And a 9-year-old picks that up. Is it going to register to them? Have you taught them that's not what guns are for? Or have you been a fucking idiot? Taught your kids that guns are bad, okay? Now here's a super soaker. Go shoot the other kids. Makes no fucking sense. There's no consequences for you teaching your kids to be fucking idiots like, wait, yes there is. When he's over at his friend's house, and they go fucking around in the fucking broom closet, or they go fucking around in the garage, and they find what dad's been trying to hide from them. Well, now it's not an implement or a tool as it should have been properly trained to be. Now it's a fucking toy. Now they've noticed that it's a fucking toy. Hey, look at dad's toy. Let's go get that toy. I got a great idea. Let's teach those little boys on the playground when they're hit by that girl. Oh, well, she only hit you because she thinks you're cute. She's got a crush on you. I mean, she likes you. Well, now you've taught that little boy that taking abuse, well, you're supposed to take abuse. You've taught that little girl that it's okay to go abusing people. There's no consequences for her. There's consequences for your son who is just assaulted. Not just being assaulted, but now he loses trust in you as a parent. If he's harmed, you're going to let him know that it's his fault somehow. And of course, that goes vice versa. It could be a boy that runs down your daughter on the fucking playground and hits her. Same thing, you're teaching your kids the wrong shit because you're fucking paranoid and stupid. Or you want to blow off something as just a kid's problem. Error, try again. There's another message held for review. It says, oh shit, I deleted my comment because you weren't reading them. Glad you got to read them then, LOL. Show. If it'll let me. Another moderator just handled this. Alright. Little Miss J typed, I am alone, luckily. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that puts us at a higher risk, though, is being alone. That's why friends and family are important. If you're harmed, the most important thing to do is to turn it in right away with a friend or family. That way you don't get blown off by the police. And although technically the police aren't allowed to blow you off, the thing is that they don't care about the law any more than the guys who, well, Ted Bollinger, for example, doesn't care that it's illegal for him to carry a firearm because he's a fucking nasty-ass goddamn pervert who likes beating on kids. Yeah, that's what he's convicted on, beating on his daughters. He also touched them both appropriately. Now we get to have all this sex stuff shoved in our face all day, every day, keeping us on edge sexually, keeping us from using our brains fully. And then when you've got somebody like me who's not stuck on sex all the damn time because it's gross, how do I get treated? Oh, you have a penis. It must have been about sex. You just couldn't take no for an answer. You're just a pervert. I know your type. You have a dick. Well, thank you very much for your vote of confidence. I grew up in the system as a kid. And I know that a big manly man like Jason Momoa probably just make fun of me for being raped as a kid. Make lots of jokes about it like a lot of people do in my situation. Let's see. Well, Miss J typed, kids in the 50s all wore those toy gun belts with the real metal toy gun. They were so cute, and no kids messed with adult guns. The 2000s have been a waste of humanity. Yeah, well, here's the thing. In the 1950s, we still had shooting clubs at school. Your local high school still had shooting competitions, national shooting competitions. Those lasted up until the 1960s. We still had high schools that had shooting competitions in the 1970s and even partially in the early 1980s. By the 1990s, we ended up with gangster rap, and everybody wanted to throw everything out the window over gangster rap. We had people killing each other all up the western seaboard. The rock rap wars of the 1990s, a part of modern culture that is completely ignored. This is modern culture. The sheer number of people that were killed, especially in Washington State, over music is phenomenal. We talk about the gang violence. It wasn't gang violence, it was music violence. People being taught that rap was coming from black people to try to destroy white society. Like, what the fuck? What we really got is advertising prowess. Advertising knowledge. We all know that sex sells. How many times have you seen a medication on the screen and all they're showing you is either a fucking butterfly, so pretty things, or pretty faces, a picturesque family? And they got that multicultural family, right? It's the black dad, the Asian mom, and then the white kid, right? But they're all fit. They're all fit. They're all good looking. They don't have the doofy looking kid who's got buck teeth that go out like this and is missing three of them on this side because he crunched too hard on a candy bar. No, they want the good looking model kids. America runs on sex, folks. That's capitalism for you. Exploitation. Who's the easiest to exploit? It doesn't matter if it's the local sheriff's department, the local news station, the local grocery store. In the 1950s, you didn't have school shootings like that because people were taught what guns were actually for. Also, there were places for those who were severely harmed so that they could recover, where a firearm was a last resort instead of the first one. Now we got situations where women who spent years in the Peace Corps protecting people in foreign countries, helping out with both physical aid and financial aid, in addition to her service through the Peace Corps, helping out people of all colors all over the world. Comes back to the United States. She believes that all lives matter and gets her head blown off for it. And we're supposed to feel sorry for her victims. The people who shot her were apparently her victims because she felt that our lives all matter. When I say no victim left behind, that's a special fuck you to the KKK and to BLM and to the Me Too movement, because the Me Too movement isn't about the victims. It's about man-hating and man-bashing, and it's horrible. Meanwhile, we got Jason Momoa, who is in fact a sex worker. That is what he does. That is what sells. He knows it. He accentuates it. He plays on it heavily. He learned from David Hasselhoff. Why was Baywatch so effective? Was it just Pamela Anderson? No, it wasn't. It was hard bodies. It was all about being physically attractive, no matter who was on the show. We want our heroes to be good looking, and we want our victims to be perfect, don't we? The people we kick the most are the ones who deserve it the least. You're all not going to get Jason Momoa. There's only one of him. And if you throw yourself at him knowing that he could have any woman he wants, and likely does, are you going to complain that all men are pigs because your man isn't loyal? Because he's the only man you wanted, and he's got plenty of women just like you that he's got options with. He's got money. He's got plenty enough to provide, and he's big enough to protect you. He also has bodyguards. Be safe. Good to be rid of you. Thank you for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's, and no victim left behind. Amen.